useful. All right, well, excellent. So we arrived here, we just made an excellent quality management plan to start with only 3 monitors. But the expectation is that, like you said, you'll have every pathologist participating, maybe every supervisor will be participating. And by the way, this is how it's done for every section in the laboratory, not just anatomic pathology. Every section should have the same thing, at least 3 monitors, if not more. The section leaders should be part of a group which is called Quality Management Council. You meet once a month at least, and you review. You could change some of these monitors, add, subtract. So I think we are into something, and your lab will be outstanding by the time you start rolling this program. So I appreciate that, and as you see, we identified a deficiency. I'm going to write this as a deficiency that your quality management plan is lacking, and as a director, you didn't have until now direct involvement. But the fact that you immediately agreed to write a quality management plan, maybe you can write it by end of the day. We'll review it and it will be corrected on site.
If we write it now and we go over it, would it be a deficiency that's corrected and we have to forget about it?
Yes, if you write it and by end of the day we review it and I accept it, it will be corrected on site. It's a deficiency, but it will be corrected on site. Okay, so I think we arrived here at a good thing. Thank you very much. I think I've taken enough.
You're welcome, thank you.
I've taken enough of your time. I know you're busy. Of course, the laboratory has to continue to work. We cannot take your time all day. So if you are inspecting a lab, you have to be cognizant of the time movement. You have to stay on top of the event. If you are the team leader, you have to make sure that the team members also stay on target. So I end up here my interview with the lab director, and I'm going to go now and inspect the laboratory. So I'm going to start at the bench, if you don't mind.
So I will go work on those now and write them, and make them ready, put them in the computer until the end of the day. He will look at them and make a decision if he will going to accept them or not. If he accepted them, it will record it as a deficiency on me, but correct on site.
So don't.
The bench doesn't look good here, but all right. Well, he has a few tubes here, or at least one, few samples. Tell me about those samples which you have. Just go through the process with me. How do you get your samples, and how do you process them?
Yeah, actually, this batch I have received from outpatient through the pneumatic tube. I took them. I just separate them as CBC or biochemistry samples. Now I am matching each samples with the ID and the name and the code and the type of test. Okay. So I have to separate them well, segregate them, and match them well before handle it to the bench itself, to the section.
Okay, very good. See, I put my hands
it's
there.
The receiving area.
This is not just for now, for the talk. I do that during the inspection because supervisors always have this habit to jump in. They want to take over. So I tell no, hold on. I want to talk to him. I want to see the actual people who do the actual work. Okay. So yeah, you talked about identification of the tube. Tell me, how many IDs do you look for?
Actually, I focus about 4 things, which is civil ID and the name and the test name of the patient, civil ID of the patient, test name and hospital number.
Okay, so you need at least 2 identifications.
Yeah.
At least 2. If you have more, that's fine. Okay, now you got the specimen. What else do you look for in the specimen?
The type of the specimen, and if it is suitable, if it is unlabeled, or if it is a wrong sample or suitable sample for a test. So I have to, for example, if it is not unlabeled or not good or incorrect sample, I have to reject or to take an action.
Oh, excellent. So you have rejection criteria?
Yeah, we have rejection policy actually, and distributed in each section, and everybody involved in this rejection
Can you please show me this policy?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
No.
I have it.
Where is it? Is it hard
Yeah, it
copy
is.
or on the computer?
It is a hard copy actually distributed in the each benches.
Yeah, if you start typing there or looking for it, how long will it
Yeah,
take
we
you?
have the soft copy. It is there in the main computer, and which is in the senior in charge office,
Okay.
and you can take and review it anytime. And we have a hard copy. You can have a look on
I
it.
guess this is a hard copy of
Yeah.
policy and rejection specimen.
Exactly.
And I'm looking here. Seems that the last time this was signed 3 years ago.
We have updated one actually.
You have an updated one?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
We do that reviewed by the head of unit and the senior in charge, and signed by the lab director and chief technologist.
Okay, so what you want to do is make sure that the final copy, or the one which is updated, is available on the bench or
Yeah.
in computer.
No, updated one both on the bench and in the computer.
Okay, very good. So that's the idea. Just in case there is something which is not following that rule, we want to make sure it is available.
Yes, exactly.
One of the again here you're doing great, but again remember we are your peers, so it's our duty if we have something to improve on, to help you out, to let you know about it. It's not about deficiency, it's about recommendation. It's
I would
about,
appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, it's about, again, helping each other do the best. You may have practices that I like, and I may take it to my lab, and I'm going to give you what I think can help you. For instance, since I suspected something is not current, the best way to keep things current is what we call the 1/12th rule. Have you heard of the 1/12th rule?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you have in the year, you have 12 months. And you remember how we said your quality management program should be reviewed at least once a year to make sure it's up to date. So you divide your procedures into 12 compartments, into 12 parts. And each month, make it a habit to review 1/12th. So you assign the staff, well, you're not the supervisor, now the supervisor is listening, of course, so he's paying attention. So you assign 1/12th to some of the staff to review each month. And take it through the whole process. You review the procedure, update it, have it signed by the supervisor and the director. This way you are ready all the time. CAP accreditation is about continuous readiness. So make that part of your continuous readiness plan. Every month, 1/12th of the procedures is reviewed and signed. And while you are at it, you have CAP's checklist, same thing, divide them into 12 parts. Because CAP revises the checklist once a year also. So every month take 1/12th and review it with the staff. This way you are ready all the time. What do you think of that?
I don't know exactly what is the advantages of that if review it every month, if I will not add anything. Is that what you mean?
No, you're reviewing 1/12th only.
Ah.
You are divided in 12 parts. This way, the advantage that you are always ready. You don't wait until we tell you we are inspecting your lab to start running around and getting procedures. And,
I get that. That's good.
okay.
I think every part we have to review the previous one also.
No, you don't have to. That's it. Just 1/12.
One
Yeah?
review per year.
Per year, yeah. You'll end up with one review per year.
That's good.
If you want to do it,
Reviews per 2 years, which is your time to be accredited.
yeah, because every 2 years you get accredited. If you want, you could divide it into 1 to 24th. But actually, you want it to be 1/12th. Why? Because at the end of the year, you are expected to do self-inspection. Okay, so when you do self-inspection, that's part of it. That's why we say 1/12th. So this is a quality improvement. Again, it's not a deficiency or anything. It's just a recommendation
That's good.
for quality
Yeah.
improvement. Okay, very good. Thank you. So now let's move the testing phase to look at other things. There are reagents lying around here. Can you pick up one of those, like this reagent?
Yeah, sure. Here it is.
Okay, let me see the expiration date.
Yeah.
Is it there? Show me. What is the expiration date?
The expiration date actually it is June 30, 2009.
2009?
2019.
All right.
2019.
Very good.
No.
Yeah, so this is okay. It means it's within its expiration date.
Yeah.
Hasn't expired. But let's assume you are a histotech, and you may have a special stain there, hematoxylin using for the pathologist, and that thing has expired, but they are still using it. Okay, and they are saying, well, this thing doesn't expire.
Actually, no, we do not work or we do not use any reagent either if it is expired.
Yeah.
Either it will work or not, but we will not use.
Yeah, good. So that's
So
the
we
attitude.
haven't tried before.
Yeah, that's the attitude. Everything should have an expiration date. However, we allow rare exceptions to situations like that, especially to the non-US laboratories, because some reagents actually don't expire because you use them to dilute to prepare a stock reagent. Some of them are those stains used in histology. However, the standard remains, you have to prove that they work. So we can make an exception to you in histology to use an old powder from which you prepare hematoxylin, or in microbiology, or wherever you use stains. But you have, before you use it, because it expired, you have to give it a new expiration date. You have to revive it, so to speak. So you take aliquot, you prepare the stain and validate it. You heard about validation. You prove that it works. You stain a few slides, show them to the pathologist, and have the pathologist sign saying this thing works. And then you assign a new expiration date to it. So that's a way, if you really must make an exception because you cannot buy a new reagent, it's too expensive, etc., you can expand the life on that. Okay.
So, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If I'm gonna to make a new expiration date, depend on what? On I will just do control for this reagent which is expired or unknown. If it is okay, so that means I will make expiration date.
Yes.
And what about the stability also? How I can measure it by also controlling it? Make control every day.
Well, like we said, this is an exception, so you don't do it. The rule is if it has an expiration date by the manufacturer, you don't touch it. You don't change that. You must adhere to the manufacturer's expiration date. Now, if it doesn't have an expiration date by the manufacturer, like some of those powders, folks in histology, maybe they can show you, some of those powders don't have expiration dates. You are supposed to put your own expiration date, or they may have one, but everybody knows that it really doesn't go out of function. So in those cases, that's when...
But I think it's not expiration date, it's a stability on board.
Yeah, it tells you,
Stability.
it might be stability. It may tell you this reagent doesn't expire or stable or not. So you check that, and if you are convinced that it can be reused and you don't want to throw it away, I mean, we don't suggest that you use it if you suspect, but if you must, this is what you need to do. Yeah, validate. Take known positives and negatives and assign an expiration date, like give it another 6 months, and then do it again. Yeah.
Can I ask a
I
question
see.
on that?
Yeah.
What if we got 10 old specimens that we have slides on, and I recut them and make the stains, and I restain them, restain the new slides, and then compare the old one to the new one? If that can be done as a validation.
Absolutely, yeah, that's validation. You get 10 to 20 slides where you know the stain worked and repeat, and excellent, yeah. That's a way how to revive something that is stable. So again, we want to emphasize this, it doesn't talk about things in chemistry or hematology or other areas where you have a manufacturer assigned expiration date. Those must be used within their expiration date because they may not be stable beyond that. But from your experience, if you know a material is stable and you have a difficulty getting a new material, CAB makes a small exception in that regard if you validate it. Okay?
I see.
That is also assigned on the reagents. If you have some reagent and expired, and you can run it on the machine, auto analyzer with a quality control sample.
No,
Is it accepted?
no, it's not accepted. Again, if it has an expiration date, you must use it within the expiration date. Yeah.
Even if you have deficiency from the reagent?
Well,
shortage of the reagent.
if it is one
And
of
you
those,
know that it's working.
Emergency.
yeah, if it is a critical reagent and you really have a problem with deficiency, like in China or some other places you heard about, PT takes weeks to arrive, and by the time it arrives, it has already expired. So the same thing, if you got a reagent which is very rare and expensive, yeah, you could make that exception. You could consult with CAP, and we will tell you whether we recognize that exception or not. Right now, the only thing where it's kind of acceptable is those reagents for staining, because they come in powder form. And we know they are stable. Anything else, if you want to make an exception, you probably need to consult with CAP staff. Most of the time, they will grant the exception if you really convince them this is the only way we can do it. Okay. But again, nothing is rigid as long as it's done with good intention. The intention is not to harm the patient. And if you are going to need this to test patients who must have the result, it's better than having nothing, but the standard still must be upheld, which is validation. If you can prove that's valid or known controls, then you can do that. You can get an exception. Okay. So you are good, your reagents are fine. Let's move on to the equipment which you are going to use here. What do you have there? Sysmax or something?
Yeah, we have here Susmex, we have Vitek from Biomarine, we have...
Okay. So let's take, can you tell me when was the last time you did preventive maintenance on the Sysmax?
We have annual preventive maintenance, which is, there is like, Ministry of Health has a contract with the company. They come and do quarter maintenance for 4 times a year. This is annual. And we do maintenance like daily maintenance, which we have this logbook. You can see it. This is daily maintenance, so I have to check this machine is the power, the regions, is okay, can we find the display and the touch screen, whatever, there is no troubleshooting. So I have to write this down in the logbook, maintenance logbook, which is daily. And we have like, if we face any problem, we are trying to solve it. If not, we have to call the engineer. So it's depend on the,
So
on the situation itself.
if you want to tell immediately, or if I want to know whether this was done, preventive maintenance done, is there a sticker or something right on the equipment which I can see?
Daily, we
No,
have.
not daily. For the preventive,
Annual?
usual is done annual.
Yeah, we have the report.
Done by the government and we don't know anything about it.
No, we have a record doctor. We have
That's what I'm trying.
each machine has the file, specific file. Once the engineer will finish from this, I have to sign. Then I will take the copy, my own copy, so I will file it.
Yeah, this is an important point the lab director made here. He doesn't care, but he wants to remind you that that's not acceptable. That would be a deficiency if you don't know when was the last time preventive maintenance done, whether the government contracts for it or whoever. It's your responsibility. So my next question would be to you, okay, show me your log or show me a sticker or show me something that proves.
Yeah, I will show you the file for annual maintenance and daily maintenance logbook.
Okay, good. I mean, so yeah, they should be available in those cases. If I'm the inspector, I would really ask you to bring them and I will look at them. Most people put sticker on the machine.
Maybe the preventive maintenance
Yeah,
is
preventive.
signed by the senior in charge.
Whoever put a sticker somewhere next to the equipment or a log next to it, this is the annual thing.
Yeah, the
The
annual.
engineer does that, he will be the sticker. And he will sign his name, time it and date it
For the next, you mean for the next check?
for the day he did. And he will tell you next time he's coming and he will take a record.
He is giving us a report, right?
Exactly.
The report maintenance.
The report
I'll
must be
keep the
next
report
to you.
maintenance.
It must be next to, available within minutes because I don't have time. You cannot tell me, well, I'll get it to you tomorrow.
Because,
I'm
no,
getting
the
on that.
advantages of this report, he will write all the details which he done for this machine.
Okay. But so we understood again, like we said, this is not for confrontation, and we believe you. We are just trying to make sure we all
Yeah.
talk about the same thing.
I am sure you with the document.
And yeah, as long as you have the document available, I will look at it when I go back to look at the other documents. Okay. Well, excellent. Thank you. I'm done with the technical part. I'm going to move to the supervisor. Okay. Now, I heard here about daily maintenance, and you can give him the logs, or you have the logs.
Yes.
Can you show me the logs for the last 2 months?
This is now the seismics machine. Okay, this is the serial